your votes, and if I send you $100, it's really important that I don't still have the money and that I can't send it to somebody else. So as you know, cryptographers have called this a double spend problem, and the way that we solve this problem in society is through large intermediaries. Well, these intermediaries increasingly need a lot of help. So I think that what this stuff represents is a second era of the internet. It's not another layer on the stack. We've had an internet of information, and now we're getting an internet of value, where anything of value ultimately, from money to art, can be stored, transacted, secured in a confidential way. This is a native digital medium for value, and this is a big deal. So it's 1994. Imagine if in 1994 you knew then what you know now about the Internet of Information. Well, we can extrapolate a lot, and that's what I'm going to try and share with you today. Take you out about 20 years and talk about what this is going to do. By the way, those of you who don't have a blockchain revolution, the best way to get it is in massive volume. Okay? Christmas is coming soon. I know for a fact some of you have friends. No, seriously, I'm very proud of this book. It is the big best-selling book about this topic. So here's what I'm going to take you through today, and it's going to be a whirlwind tour. I was asked to give a State of the Union, or State of the World, about this whole blockchain revolution. So I'm going to talk about the impact on three major institutions, and then talk to you frankly about some of the challenges and what is to be done going forward. So let's start with financial services. Yes, it was 2 days after Lehman Brothers crashed that I gave the closing keynote at Sibos 9 years ago. And I did discard my PowerPoint the night before, which in general is a good thing, because, you know, power corrupts, PowerPoint corrupts, absolutely. But, and I talked about what I thought was wrong with the financial industry. And I said, look, you're going to remember the world up to this day, and you're going to remember the world after this day. This is a punctuation point in human history. And the core modus operandi of this industry almost brought down the global capitalist system, and it may still happen. If it doesn't get bailed out by the U.S. federal government and other players, then we're going to go into a massive crisis. You know, I didn't know, but at that time, we were days, some people say hours away, from the banks or the ATMs running out of cash. So these intermediaries overall have done a pretty good job, but starting 2008, we started to wonder a bit. And there are growing problems, and I'm not suggesting they need to be eliminated, but although some of them will be, but they need help. They're centralized, and anything that's centralized can be hacked, and JP Morgan and Home Depot and even the CIA found that out the hard way. They slow things down. It takes a second for an email to go around the world. It can take days or even weeks for money in computers, or not money, but digital assets in computers to move up the street on Wall Street. They charge the system. It can cost 10 to 20% to send money from one country to another. Has anyone ever heard of cross-border email payments? You know, it's kind of ought to be the same thing, shouldn't it? It's all about bits. They exclude a couple of billion people from the global economy. Now, in fairness to the banks, it's not just that they don't have enough money to be profitable. These people, many of them, don't have an identity. And overall, we have this strange situation where data is the new oil. It's a new asset class, probably as important as previous asset classes, land, industrial plant. We create this data, but large intermediaries, not just banks, but social media companies, search engines, and other institutions capture it. And so we have this crazy situation where our economies are growing and the middle class is shrinking. The benefits of the digital age, and it's tough for me to admit, because I've been a big champion of technology for 35 years now, The benefits of the digital age have been distributed asymmetrically. So, what if we had an internet of value? How could that change the financial system overall? Does anyone know what this machine is? Thank you. Who said that? Okay. It's a Rube Goldberg machine, an American inventor, engineer, who developed all these ridiculously complicated machines that would do something very simple, like crack an egg or open a door. Well, I look at that and I kind of see the financial system, basically. I mean, we'll talk about nostro vostro in a sec, but just like a credit card, you tap your card in Starbucks and there's a bunch of messages go through half a dozen companies, some of them using 30-year-old technology, each with a counterparty risk and each taking cost or adding cost to the system, and 3 days later a payment and a settlement occurred. Maybe there's a better way. Maybe if we had some kind of distributed ledger, the payment and the settlement would be the same activity. There would be no 3-day clearing and settlement period. There would be a 0-day, 0-minute payment and settlement period. There would be no counterparty risk. And that was the problem in 2008, right? All these counterparties in trouble. There would be no counterparty costs. The metabolism of the banking system would be sped up. So Payments Canada has done some pretty interesting work. Is anyone here from a Canadian bank? Okay, great. And I actually gave the opening talk to the Payments Canada Summit this year. And this is their vision of what a new payments system could mean for Canada. Of course, it's going to link out globally to the world. And I said, that's pretty awesome, and I support that. But what if you added a distributed ledger to it? Could you have micropayments? You're going to need that, ultimately, because when that light bulb buys some power from a distributed power source, it's not going to go through the traditional Visa network, for example. It's the Internet of Things is going to need a ledger of things for that to occur. Or when I listen to Imogen Heap's new song, which is posted on a blockchain, and she charges me a few microcents, we're going to need a platform to be able to do that. We're going to need peer-to-peer payments, increasingly. We're going to need real-time tracking and auditing. We're going to need anonymous payments. Privacy is an important thing. People say to me, come on, Don, privacy's dead. Get over it. I think this is stupidity. Privacy is the foundation of freedom, and we need to protect it. And we'll get more to that later on. We need embedded payments in all kinds of new vehicles like smart contracts. We need better security. I like to think about a blockchain as something highly processed and just sort of like a chicken McNugget, you know. And to hack it would be like turning the chicken McNugget back into a chicken. Now, someday somebody's going to be able to do that, but for now, that's going to be tough. So these technologies are going to be infinitely more secure than the kind of systems that you people have in the Canadian banks. How about a single version of the truth? Where's my brother Bob is here somewhere. Oh, there he is, Bob Tapscott. He was the CIO at Citibank, and he used to talk about dueling spreadsheets. People would come in with multiple versions of the truth, and you'd have to decide which was the right version of the truth. Wouldn't that be cool? Because we're all looking at the same ledger. And of course, instant settlements. So Payments Canada has not yet decided to move to a blockchain, and they've got lots of, legitimate timing and other reasons. But I believe that they will do it ultimately, and this will be a sensible thing to do. Now, there's a lot more to this than payments, although we'll talk about that in a sec. In the book, we had to think about, well, what is it, all the things that the financial industry does? And actually, this is Alex's work. It does 8 things. It authenticates and attests to value, so you are who you are. This is a real dollar. It transfers value, money, stocks, whatever. It stores value. It used to be in safes, and now it's in computer systems, mainly. Because it stores value, it gets to lend value, it gets to exchange value like markets, stock markets, and so on. Fund and invest value, so you've got venture, hedge funds, mutual funds, and so on. Insure value and manage risk, and overall to account for and audit value. Now, in theory, every one of these can be eliminated by distributed ledger technology. That will not occur, of course, because the incumbents are working hard to figure out how to embrace this technology. But you take any one of these, and we're in for a period of some pretty big changes. And it means that companies in the financial industry need to think strategically. You know, they need to get beyond thinking about how can we displace and avoid costs, to think about how can we use this technology to create new businesses, new markets, new customers, new value. I'll just give you an example of that. We did the book launch and was hosted by NASDAQ in New York City. And went on for a couple of hours. There was someone there from Ripple, actually, on a panel. And in the conversation, more than one person said, well, I think stock markets will become peer-to-peer. So at the end of the morning, this exec from NASDAQ gets up and he says, you're probably wondering why we're enthusiastic about this particular book. He says, actually, we're not a stock market company. We're a technology company, and we know how to make markets. And we have a dozen projects underway that are looking at using blockchain to create new customers. And on the stage, they showed a real demonstration of a NASDAQ-delivered electrical power grid where sun shines on a panel, solar panel, power is generated, sold into a market in the neighborhood, and we watched while some crypto came onto the computer of this guy. The brighter the sun shines, the more money comes onto his computer. So that's an example of a company in the industry that's thinking strategically, not just about cost avoidance. So if we had some more time, we can talk about each of those. Now, I'd like to just talk about ICOs for a sec. Because this is one of the things that's enabled by this technology. Venture capital is unrecognizable. Generally was the big